You're here. If you don't know who I am, my name is Kim Garst. I am super passionate about helping entrepreneurs learn how to market their businesses online using digital and social media. I'm a best-selling author and the creator of many training courses over the years. I've helped thousands of entrepreneurs learn to leverage the power of digital and social media. So super excited about that part of what I do. It's my why. It's why I get up and get moving every day. And today I want to talk about something that's like I have been passionate about like forever. It's something that is near and dear to my heart. It's the words that come out of our mouths. It's the things that we say, or more importantly, the things that we shouldn't say, but we do sometimes say. And the reality of it is that we are listening. So today's topic is really about what successful people don't say. They just don't say these things. They're not in their vocabulary. And if they do say them accidentally, because they're so tuned into them, they immediately say, "Oh, whoa, I didn't say that." Sometimes I'll find myself saying something and I'll be like, "Oh, goodness, sorry I said that. I hope nobody, please forgive me," just because of the context or, again, you're listening. So once you shift your mindset to a place where you are cognizant of this and you realize it, it's amazing the dynamic of it and how it'll shift the way you engage with not only your own mindset, but also others as well. So as you're coming in, just give me a shout out. Where in the world are you? I saw Darcy is here. Hey, Darcy, super excited that you're here. And I just saw, we got Monica from Texas. On Darcy's photo, I just saw the cutest little puppy. I'm a puppy person. In fact, let me show you my shirt today. A dog can change the way you see the world. Yeah, I believe this. So totally. So it seemed appropriate to share that with you in this moment. Okay, so just to go back to this story, I'll share a quick story with you real quick. And it's one of the things that I'm going to share that most people just don't say to themselves, or at least successful people don't say to themselves. And it's one of the things that bothers me the most. And it is like outlawed in my house. And I'm hoping you will now outlaw it in your house as well, or in your life, and certainly not say it out loud or otherwise about you or anyone else. But I hate the term stupid. It's like, sometimes people will say, well, that's just a stupid question, or I feel ridiculous asking a stupid question. There is no such thing as a stupid question. If you don't know the answer, then there's no such thing as stupid. So one of the things that successful people don't say is I'm too stupid, or I'm not smart enough. And when you find yourself feeling like you're lacking the skills or the knowledge to do something specific, then say just whoa. So like early on, my boys, I guess my youngest was in the 3rd grade when I started homeschooling, and my oldest was in the 7th grade. And we homeschooled for 7 years, basically until my oldest graduated from high school. And then my youngest decided he wanted to go back to school. Wish I'd never done that, by the way, but I can't go back on that. But one of the things that I was super passionate about even then with them was, if they got frustrated, or they weren't learning something, or they're like, I'm not smart enough for this, because math would be like, a butt kicker for my oldest. And I'd be like, no, it's not that you're stupid. I just haven't explained it well enough. And so we would circle back. And the beautiful part about circling back when you just don't know something, or in the homeschool environment, was that we could do that. We could slow down until they got it. So they got a good foundation. And when you're in a traditional school environment, the teacher moves on, right? And then that's why kids fall behind, or, they need additional help or whatever. But I really focused in, and the moral to the story was like, there is no such thing. Do not even begin. Don't even say that word is not allowed in my house. You're not stupid. And so I really key in on that, not that word, like, don't say it. It's not allowed, that kind of thing. So again, that's what a lot of people that are successful never ever utter that. If they don't know something, they figure out how to get that knowledge. They invest in themselves. They invest in a training course, or they invest in a coach, or they invest in whatever it is that's going to get them to the next level. Now, for me, because I've learned this, and I no longer have that lack mentality of, if I don't know if I have the money to do that. And I know that's a process. You have to get there. I totally understand that. But now if I want to know something, I just find the person who is demonstrating it in their business and teaches others how to do it. And I go straight to that source, and I invest, I pay whatever it takes to, get that knowledge, because they've already, gone down that road. So that's the moral to this, is like, if you feel like you just don't know something, or if you're not smart enough, I run into a lot of people who feel like the tech side of things is a stumbling block for them. And it may be, it may be a stumbling block, but don't let it be a stopping block, is the moral to the story. And again, you're listening to the words that are coming out of your mouth. So, when you tell yourself, or you tell others, or you say that to, out loud, like, I'm just not smart enough, or I'm, just not getting this. You're hearing that, and you're feeding that belief system. And what we believe is reality. So try not to say that to yourself, because it's just not true. It's just you haven't gotten to that, whatever it is you feel like you don't know yet, but you can. It's all doable. Marie Forleo's new book, and I've said it for a long time, Everything is Figure Outable. I love that she named her book that, because I think it's just so true. That's the reality of it, is we shouldn't think that there's things in life that we can't figure out, that we can't learn. So that's my number one. Don't say you're too stupid, or you're just not smart enough. Another thing that I think feeds on this and stacks on top of it maybe is I'm just so confused, or I'm so overwhelmed, or no, let me say, those are two separate things. I'm so confused, or I don't know how. And again, that does play into that same thing, but it's a different level of, and that's why I separated them out. I don't know how to do something is sometimes predicated on knowledge, and sometimes it's predicated on a laziness. So I wanted to talk about it from that perspective, because and more specifically, sometimes it comes from a place of I don't want to do that, so you just say I don't know how. And I've done it. I know, I would speculate you guys have too. In fact, please let me know if you've ever had a task on your list and you're like, it's just easier to say it's confusing to me, or I don't know how, instead of just addressing it head on and finding out how to get to that next step. Like I say, successful people never let these things be roadblocks for them. They figure it out, and they take action on it, instead of letting that be the stumbling block, or even letting it be the stopping block, is what I call it. So Barbara's saying, yes, love, love, love. Everything is figure outable. That word is so hard. It trips off of the end of my tongue somehow. It's hard to say sometimes. Sam is saying, without taking risk, we will never know. Amen. Amen. And I think so much of this is mindset. And again, we hear what we say, and we believe what we say. So I think that's sometimes a huge problem. Another thing that you will never hear, so we're on number 3 now, that you should never say, and that is, I could never. I could never do XYZ. So now I'll frame this up in context. So what I'm trying to share here isn't about, quick example. I'm not going to say this, but I'm using it as an example. I could never swim the English Channel. Well, would I ever swim the English Channel? Probably not. It doesn't mean I can't if I set my mind to it, because I believe really anything is that you set your mind to, you can absolutely do. That's not really the context that I'm sharing here. I could never do what you do, Kim. I could never go live and share my knowledge. I could just never do that. I can't tell you how often I've heard people say things like that. When the reality of it is that it's just a fear factor. They absolutely could do this. There are other things that maybe you don't want to skin a bear or, whatever. I mean, that's a ridiculous example too, but you know what I'm saying? I'm using some absurd examples to showcase that there may be situations where those are things you just, okay, maybe I'll never do those things. But most things that you say I could never do are totally doable. You just don't want to do them. And you just don't want to push past the fear. So my take on this, in my experience with this, has been that every time I feel fear now, I know more than likely I'm on the right track. And I just push through the fear because I know that there's amazing things on the other side. And it's not comfortable. But, as I was telling somebody the other day, actually, it was my mastermind students. I'm like, I'm just jumping off cliff after cliff after cliff with this new business. There would have been a time when any one of these like cliffs that I shared with them would have been game stoppers, like total, like, I can't do that. I just, but now because I know that there's amazing things on the other side of that fear, man, I just keep diving off of those cliffs. And, I build the wings on the way down. And that, I think that does come from experience and understanding that there is great things on the other side of fear if you can just push past them. But like I say, successful people, they just don't believe there's anything they can't do. They just keep pressing. They don't, and they never say it. They never say, I can't do X, Y, Z. They are always moving forward. So Darcy is saying we need to be cheerleaders for ourselves as well as others. Amen, sister. Amen. It is so important for us to talk to ourselves in the way that we want to go, because we're listening and we believe what, even if you don't, and this is, again, just tough love here. Even if you don't believe what you're saying to yourself, you can condition yourself to start to believe it. You repeat it over and over, and you start taking baby steps towards those things that you say you think you can't do. Start saying, I can do it. Reframe it. Instead of saying, I can't do, you say, I can do this when, or I can do this if. Reframe those things that you think you can't do into you can do them, and how can you do them. And like I say, sometimes they're baby steps towards the bigger picture. But I'm here to share that you can absolutely do amazing things that you say, anything that you set your mind to. And everybody says that. I mean, like, oh yeah, Kim, all right. I hear you. Everybody says it. Yeah, I can do all these things if I just decide to do them. But it's true. I mean, it's true. If you just focus and start taking those incremental steps towards what you think you can't do, and you tell yourself that you can and you will get there, you will get there. Maybe not in exactly the way you thought you would, but you will get there. It's just a fascinating dynamic, and the way our brains work and the way our minds react to words is incredible. So I really want to encourage you to speak to yourself in a way that is positive, that moves you forward. And every time you have those negative thoughts, you reframe it into a positive statement, because it will change the way your business grows. It will change the way you grow if you can do that. There's the book that, and it's so true, thoughts are things, or that's basically the message. And I'm so in alignment with that message. And again, a lot of it has come from experience, and really embracing that concept and being grateful and showcasing gratitude. But much of it at the root has become reframing the negatives into those positive things. So third was, I could never. The fourth one is, oh, poor me. I'm just so overwhelmed and I just don't have enough time. There's no time. So quick story. I was in another person's group the other day, and it was a great question. I'm just trying to remember. I think the question had something to do with, what's the number one struggle in your business? And there was like 628 comments on this particular post, which was what really attracted my interest to it to begin with. And I started looking through the comments, and 90% of them, I kid you not, 90% of them all said the same thing. I don't have enough time. Okay, so let's talk about this for a second. And we all feel overwhelmed, but usually the overwhelm is spawned from a place of not tackling the things that we know we should. So they just go into the overwhelm category. Now that's an ouchie. Think about it for a second. Now I've been in this boat many, many times over the years, and said to, I'd even say it, oh gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. I just don't have time for all this stuff. And then I would get to the end of my day and realize that, I really didn't focus on anything, that I was busy, but I didn't focus on the elephants. I didn't focus on the things that really moved my business forward. I just put it into that overwhelm pile, just don't have time for it. Instead of really owning that it wasn't the pile at all, it was me. I just didn't make time for it. So successful people don't do that. Successful people tackle the elephant or the things that grow their business first. And they let the other things that are not as impactful kind of fall by the wayside until they can get to them. Most people operate in the reverse, which is why they think they don't have enough time. Guess what, guys? We all have the same amount of time. And there's successful people out there who have the same amount of time that we do. So how do they achieve success when others don't? Well, they never say they're overwhelmed. They just don't. They just tackle things on their list, or they tackle whatever it is. They don't say they don't have enough time. They make the time for what's important. Now, that could mean family time as well. It could mean personal stuff. It's setting aside things that in our businesses that don't mean as much to us as things that matter in our family or things that matter in our personal lives. We have a client that needs XYZ, but guess what? Our kid has a play this morning at school. What are we going to do? Are we going to see to the client's work? Or are we going to go to our kids' play? That and guess what? You can do both. Not necessarily in the same time block, but you can let the client know, listen, my child has a play this morning at school. I'll be going to that. And, it'll be this afternoon before I can get to what you need. Okay, there's some boundaries there, right? So sometimes you just have to come into alignment with what's the most important to you around the time factor. But successful people, they don't say I'm overwhelmed. How many times do you feel like you are in that boat where you're constantly have a sense of overwhelm and you feel like you just don't have enough time to do everything? And no judgment here, even though what I'm sharing with you is, hey, successful people don't say that. It's not about judging, because I've been there. I'd speculate you're there. I've seen so many other people who are there, and it's not even an indicator of whether you're successful or not. It's an indicator of how we think and how we say things to ourselves, and even how we show up and showcase ourselves to others. So don't feel like there's any judgment here. We've all been there. In some cases, I have to reel myself in daily, where I'm like, okay, look at this. I've got all this stuff. And you feel that sense of, oh, golly, I'm so nervous. Can I get all this stuff done? And then you just have to slow down, deep breath, and tackle it. I mean, that's just what is. Instead of letting that sense of pressure, I guess that's the word I'm looking for, take you in a totally different direction. So hopefully that is making sense, and it will help you to get to a place where every time you think that, like, I'm just overwhelmed, I just don't have enough time, you reframe it to say, okay, how do I put some boundaries around my time, or how do I tackle the things that matter? What can I set to the side so that you can ease that pressure and actually get stuff done? It's all about reframing everything. Honestly, all of the things that people don't say to themselves is all about reframing and shifting the way we think about things and the mindset that we have around them. So that was number 4. Number 5. Oh, this is a goodie. Successful people never say, I hate reading. Have you ever heard the old saying that successful people are readers? It's because they are. Like they are, I mean, and it's funny because I started like when I was a young, I don't know, probably 10 or more. I mean, I've always been a reader, always from the earliest time. And, my sisters make fun of me, like when I became a teenager and I would read Harlequin romances back in the day. Yeah. Man, I can't even tell you when I've read a Harlequin romance, but back when I was a teenager, I read Harlequin romances. But I was a voracious reader. I always have been. And because I've always been such a reader, I can like read a book like so quick. And I don't read every word, by the way. I have my own system. I scan, I don't know, but I can consume content very quickly. And I really attribute that to all the reading I did when I was younger, because I just read so much stuff. And you will find that all successful people are readers. They have like, you could probably, if you could see behind me, I have books stacked everywhere. I have books stacked literally everywhere. Most of them are business related now. My reading choices have shifted, but I am still very much a reader and I'm constantly learning. So Deb is saying, love reading. Yes, yes. Deb, I would love it. Hey, in fact, guys, pop in your favorite book. What is your favorite book? I guess I would have to say, my favorite obviously is the Bible, because I feel like so much of life and so much of personal development has its roots in the Bible. Just does. That's my personal opinion. But even beyond that, there's just so many books that I think the one thing is something I've recently read. A couple, I'm just highlighting a couple that I've read recently. Story Brand, which is goodness, drawing a blank on the author on that. I've talked about him so much in the past 2 months. I can't even believe I can't think of his name. But lots of great books. I just recently ordered a couple of new books on retention within membership programs. So I'm excited to get those. But I'd love to hear what your favorite books are. What has made the biggest difference to you in your, whether it's life or business? Would love to see and hear from you as to, what really has, again, really impacted you, really made a difference. And on top of that, how many books? Donald Miller, I couldn't think of it. Thank you, Deb. You saved my life here. Story Brand by Donald Miller. Guys, if you don't feel like you have succinct messaging, definitely check out Donald Miller. Sam is saying, yes, the Bible for wisdom. Absolutely. I'm just trying to think. So Jeff is saying, I'm reading Indistractable right now, and it's awesome. Indistractable. That just the title of that sounds really cool. Indestructible. Indistractable, I think, was reading Story Brand now and loving it, says Marilyn. Marilyn, it is such a great book. And by the way, it's so great to see you here. But yeah, Story Brand is so great. We have been doing so many things. We even had a session on it at the mastermind, because I just feel like he's just got a brilliant model. The book of Proverbs is great for building business. Amen, Sam. I totally agree with you. So many great books out there. So following along on that, curious, and Jenny is saying the Bible, Profit First. I love those choices. So quick question to you. How many books do you read a month? We'll put you on the spot. I probably read a book a week, maybe sometimes 2 books a week, depending on, but the other thing that I do, and probably more than books, I read a lot of content. Like I read a lot of blog posts. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I'm like a sponge. My goal is to never go to bed at night without having picked up something new, something, what did I learn today kind of thing. And I like to be able to articulate it. Like I like to be able to say, I didn't know this yesterday. And this is something I learned today. And And if there's things that you learn each and every day, I'd encourage you to start like saying that at the end of your day, like, I didn't know that, and now I do. So Jenny is saying she reads 4 books a month. That's awesome. That's about where I would say I am, but so many other types of content that I consume on a monthly basis. My operations manager has taken to audio of books, and she's just consuming so many audio books. And I'm like, I like to write in my books. Darcy is saying at least 2 per month. And since we're talking about books, like, when I'm reading a book, I'm like making notes. I'm like underlining things. I'm starring stuff. I mean, my books are a hot mess when I finish with them. Marilyn says another of my favorites is The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. I love that one too. Such a great book. There's just so many great books out there. I mean, obviously there's some books I think that take it to a next level, but I don't know. I'm sure there are bad books. I'm sure there are. I can't really say I've read a bad book in forever. So Marilyn says, I also do a lot of Audible books, especially when I exercise. Kills 2 birds with 1 stone. And, it's kind of like, so, when you say that, it reminds me of like when I used to sunbathe when I was still a teenager. And, that we didn't, of course, back then, you didn't have like the earbuds and the fancy stuff we have today. But, keeping your mind occupied so that you can do the other stuff was my point, where here you are exercising. And if, you were just exercising and you didn't have your mind occupied, maybe you wouldn't spend as much time exercising, right? So I like that. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And then I have a bonus. It's kind of number 6, but it's one that probably I am the most passionate about. And it's something that's outlawed here in my house. And it's the successful people just don't say this. They just don't say it. And those are the words, I can't. They just don't say it. They don't even begin to believe that they can't do something. They can. So when you feel like there are things that whether it's lack of knowledge or whether it is like just seems insurmountable or, whatever it is, but you have that sense of feeling like it's something that is just that. You just feel like, I'm not sure I can do that. See, I even struggle to say the word can't because it's just like, I just hate it. I feel like there is nothing that we can't do if we just set our minds to it. So don't, when you feel that, when you get to that place where you are saying to yourself, all right, I'm not sure if I can, don't even go there. Just immediately stop and say, I can. And maybe you have to break it down. Maybe you have to figure out what the path is and then go back to the figure outable thing, right? Where, what is the path to achieving whatever it is, instead of just a blanket assumption that I just can't do that. Nope, sorry, can't go there. Like I say, I feel like I run into this quite frequently, and somebody will say, well, I'm not sure I can do that, or I'm not sure I can do the other thing. But just really focusing in on what you say to yourself and what you put out into the world. I think it matters. I know it matters. So it's important that you talk to yourself and you talk to the world, if you will, because today, every time we say something, especially in the public space, others are listening. And, lots of times we can reframe how we position ourselves to where we show up in that positive light. We start to believe in that positive light. And there's nothing that is not doable. You can do it. So try not to say the words, I can't, because honestly, you can. But if you think you can't, guess what? You're right. You can't. So it's important that you just don't utter those words. Just don't even let them come out of your mouth. If you feel like you're getting ready to say it, stop, say, whoa, Nelly, and reframe it into a sentence that frames it up in a positive action-based way. I absolutely can. If I can do this, I can do that. What does that look like so that you can get to that bigger picture of where you're going, so that that can't becomes a can. So, and there's more, guys. There's so many other like sayings that people just don't say. Successful people just don't say. And by the way, all of these are probably, I would speculate, just based on my own experience, we don't pop out and automatically say, well, I'm never saying that. Those are just words that, take me down the wrong trail. No, most of the times, successful people have had to learn that these are things that they just don't bring into their world. They just don't bring these concepts into, how they do business or how they interact in the world. They've had to figure that out. They've had to learn. And that's one of the reasons I want to share these things with you, because in some cases you might not have thought of it, or you might not have realized that the words you're saying to yourself are impeding you in some way. They're playing with your set in some way that is probably just not super healthy for you or your business or your life or your family, or, keep going down the list. These things matter. And how we speak to ourselves definitely matters. So hopefully it's been helpful, and it's maybe sparked an idea or a concept, or more importantly, helping you reframe the way you speak to yourself, and how, and the more, I guess the bigger picture is what you believe about what you can and can't do. And that's why I wanted to talk about this today and share it with you guys, and hopefully make some impact in some unique ways. So are there any questions? Hey, Marilyn, thank you. Thank you. Like, even life stories, I'm happy to share, like, what triggered certain things. Because like I said, I feel like there's certain things, all of these are things that, we've had to deal with. Successful people have had to deal with this and had to get to a place where, they don't say these things anymore. They don't believe them. They've retrained their mindset to just not utter these things. So happy to share if you've got a specific struggle with one of these things. I'm happy to talk about it and maybe help you reframe it, which is I so love doing that. In other words, break it down and make it figure outable. By the way, I haven't purchased Marie Forleo's book yet, but where did I saw it somewhere. I've seen it a lot of places because obviously it just came out. Been meaning to purchase it. I just haven't done it. But it's fascinating that today it just keeps coming up. The term figure outable is so true. It's like everything is, even the things you think have no solution, have one for sure. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me. I'm always grateful for that. It's always a blessing to share knowledge and have a conversation with you guys. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care and God bless. And I'll see you next Wednesday. Same time, same place.